Welcome back to Medusa's Kitchen. I'm Chef Greg. Today we're making my gyros. I know that everybody loves it out there. I don't make it all the time, so I'm going to show you how to make it at home. It's really easy. It's basically Greek meatloaf, but easier. It has no gluten, it has no eggs. So we'll get started. I'm going to show you what I have for ingredients here. I got 20 ounces of lamb fat that I ground, a pound of lamb, 12 ounces of lean ground beef that picks up the lamb fat, 6 ounces of Spanish onion or red onion, 2 ounces of garlic, a 1/4 ounce of Greek oregano, not Mexican, because Mexican's a little bit bitter, 2 ounces of cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of fresh oregano, half a tablespoon of kosher salt, not iodized, and once in a while I like to put fresh thyme in there. I like that flavor. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our meats into a mixing bowl and our lamb fat. I get lamb racks for my members' dinners, and when I clean the lamb racks, I have all this nice lamb fat. Anytime you have any meat fat, that's where a lot of flavor is, in corned beef and roast beef and lamb. So that lamb fat is not only for flavor, but it's for moisture. That's what gives you that, on the spit, that lamb fat melts and that caramelizes that cone. Well, we're kind of doing the same thing here. So we've got this in our mixer. We're going to put a paddle in it, and we're going to stand by until we get the second part of our recipe together, which is taking our seasonings: onion, garlic, salt, pepper, fresh oregano, fresh thyme, and then the cornstarch. And you might ask what the cornstarch is for. Well, the cornstarch is in this to help absorb some of that lamb fat so it stays in your meatloaf. So after you're done cooking it, you get it cold and you slice it, you have that lamb fat still in the meat to where it's going to give you some moisture for that sandwich. We need to get about 2 ounces of water in here with our blender as well, so I'm going to grab that. So we're going to blend this up and we're going to puree it really nice. When you make meatballs, I don't know if you've ever experienced where the meatballs are tough. That's because they got overmixed. Well, with the gyros, you want to overmix it on purpose because you want this to be able to stand up to the slicing. You want it to be a little bit rubbery. You don't want it to be tender, otherwise it'll fall apart when you go to slice it. You want it to be firm and have that stretch without breaking. So you want to overmix it. When you're having meatballs, you don't want to overmix meatballs, you want them nice and tender. But when you're doing meatloaf or this gyros recipe, you want to overmix the meat. You want to mix it to the point where it starts making a mousse. As it heats up, those albumins and those proteins are starting to connect, and that's what gives you that firmness. Also, the cornstarch, that little bit of cornstarch is going to help soak up and keep that fat in that meatloaf and makes it nice and moist. This is exactly how I make it, but I do it on a larger scale. You want to overmix this. That is the point. You want to overmix this. You can see how it's starting to stretch. Take this paddle out. You don't use a whip for this, by the way. You use a paddle, not a hook. Paddle works the best. You'll break the whip. And you want to make sure that your meats and your fat are coming right out of the refrigerator and nice and cold. You don't want to really do this when it's warm. So now you take this, you put it on a small sheet pan, and you pat it down. And you want the top to be uneven so it gives it a nice look when you're slicing it. You want to do a slow roast on this. So 300 degrees, about 45 minutes. So you're going to cook it once in the oven, and then you're going to slice it cold, and then you're going to cook it again in the pan to brown it off to get you that caramelized gyros mouthfeel. So you don't want to overcook it the first time around. So we're going to stick this into a 300 degree oven. I have one that I did earlier. Show you what it looks like. It shrinks up. Only a little bit of that fat was on here. You have a sharp knife, and you cut not too thin. You want the gyros to have some substance to it. Because like I said, you're going to be browning it, and that's why you make the top uneven so it has that scallop look, so it doesn't look like it came out of a machine. And you can go one side to the other. You can have thicker pieces if you like. You can use this for Greek style omelets. You could use this filling for stuffed peppers or zucchini or potatoes or tomatoes, and it'll stay in the freezer for at least 3 months. But you can see this is, this is cooked, but it's still a little bit pink, and that's from the salt in the recipe, so don't get scared. And like I said, you're going to be cooking this again in a nice hot skillet to get it browned up. And if you have a slicer at home, put it on your slicer. You can freeze this after it's cooked, but I would freeze it after you've cooked it and sliced it as opposed to freezing it raw. And that goes for most meat. Once you freeze it raw, you really change the texture of it. So if you buy more chicken than you need, if you're going to braise it or stew it, then it's okay to freeze it raw, but it's better to freeze it cooked. All right, now that 2 pounds of gyros meat is going to make at least 6 sandwiches. And you can double this recipe. You can make your own cone with this recipe. Some of you might have a small gyros machine. The key there is you would knead this mix really cold, and you slap the air out of it like this, and you put little discs on your cone, and you stack them up, and then you trim it, and then you take those trimmings, put the last one on top, you wrap the whole thing in saran wrap, and you freeze it. The people that have gyros machines know how to make a gyros cone, so this meat can be used for the gyros cone as well. It just has to be really cold because it's just too soft when it's warm. And because we overmixed it in the mixer, it's starting to get warm, and it's 95 degrees out today while we're doing this video. So, no, we're not in a butcher shop where they keep it refrigerated at 60 degrees. Okay, we're back. We're making the gyros. We got a nice tomato. We got Italian parsley. I got thinly sliced red pepper. I like the tomatoes to be a little bit thicker. I got French feta and lemon. Now over here, I got a couple of my nice pans. Both are going to have a little olive oil. This is key to making a gyros. You have to heat this bread up. You can't just eat it out of the package. That's where you get that stretch, and it gives you a little bit of richness too. But I mean, pita bread, any bread is better when it's warm. I mean, that's just the fact of life. Notice how this is ballooning up like that? That's ready. We put it on a clean towel, and we put the colored side on the outside because you want them to see that on their sandwich. Now we're going to heat up our gyros. I suggest you do these on a non-stick pan. These pans I've used since I was 18. 40 years old these pans are, so they're non-stick already. They're well seasoned. This gyros is already cooked. All you're doing now is you're just putting that caramelization on it. See this? That's what gives you that authentic look and flavor. See how nicely that's coming out? This is what you're looking for. All you need to do is brown this. It's done now. Put the gyros on the pita. If you were having it in a Greek restaurant in Chicago, they would serve it just like this. And they'd serve the pita on the side. I mean, does that look delicious or what? Serve it with lemon, tzatziki sauce. Squeeze lemon on this. Then you put the red onions with the parsley. You put the tomatoes here and the Greek yogurt tzatziki sauce. That is an authentic Greek gyros. I wish you could taste this. It's unbelievable. My daughters like to put French feta on their gyros. That's like the icing on the cake. So, I hope you try this.